I enter the Apex Motors showroom and stop where the counter edge aligns with my shoulder. Close enough to register. Far enough to wait. A man ahead of me finishes before I fully arrive. Paper sliding once. A screen turning toward him. A glass placed within reach. The exchange concluding without friction. When my position opens, the screen remains angled away. Hands stay flat, and the pause stretches longer than necessary. Long enough to feel procedural. Liam stands in front of me. Eyes on the display. Fingers still. No greeting arrives. No name is requested. Foot traffic continues behind me without intersecting my space. Kyle, dressed in black, shifts near the entrance. Not assigned yet. Just present. Another couple moves in, and Liam steps aside for them. Bodies guided closer to the cars. Champagne offered before any question forms. I remain where I am. I'd like to see the Aventador. The sentence lands and stays suspended. Liam breathes in, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. That model requires an appointment. The words are clean and final. I nod once and stay still. A set of keys appears on the counter between us. Metal touching stone. Audible, but soft. 1 second passes. Liam draws the keys back toward his side. The movement, small and exact. Kyle steps closer, stopping at an angle that narrows the space without contact. Just stand here. The instruction does not extend beyond me. The car remains untouched. Liam leans slightly toward the desk and lowers his voice. Don't let him touch it. The sentence moves without ownership. Nothing contradicts it. I shift my weight, and wait. Liam turns, takes a cloth, and wipes the Aventador's door handle once. Then again, without looking at me. The cloth disappears under the counter. A clipboard slides out. Pages flip. Name. I give it. The pen hovers, then presses down. The page folds slightly at the corner as he writes. Do you have an appointment? The question returns unchanged. I shake my head. Please wait. I step aside as directed. And the flow resumes immediately. Customers who arrived after me pass the boundary where I was stopped. Their progress uninterrupted. Another laugh rises near the glass. Kyle adjusts his stance. Not closer. Not farther. Liam glances at the clipboard. Then at the screen. Then back to the clipboard. Still waiting. The phrase floats without response. A tray passes behind me and stops elsewhere. Another salesperson. Maya. Hands a brochure to a guest without being asked. Opening to a marked page. Liam does not look over. Minutes accumulate. The same question surfaces again. Appointment. The answer does not change. Please wait. A request for identification follows. Driver's license. I hand it over. Liam holds the card longer than necessary. Turns it once. Then places it flat on the counter instead of returning it. He types slowly. Stops. Types again. Systems slow. The explanation arrives without apology. Kyle watches the floor. Then the entrance. The license remains on the counter through a second check. Then a third. The same information confirming itself without resolution. Another couple approaches the Aventador, and Liam steps between them and the car, gesturing broadly, guiding them just close enough to admire. The rope is adjusted slightly, not tightened. Corrected. A hand rests briefly on the roof, then withdraws. I remain where instructed. Liam retrieves the cloth again and wipes the handle once more after the interaction. The same spot. The same motion. We'll get to you. The sentence sounds procedural. Time stretches. The clipboard closes. My license is returned without comment. The same question surfaces again, unchanged in tone or wording. Do you have an appointment? I shake my head again. The repetition settles into routine. The desk feels less like a surface and more like a boundary. The keys reappear briefly within sight and then slide back under the counter. Kyle shifts his feet. Maya walks past without looking over. Another customer leaves smiling. Another arrives and is immediately oriented toward inventory. Liam does not raise his voice. No explanation expands. Each action remains small and contained. I stand where directed, visible and inactive, while the room continues to move around me, held in place by timing, spacing, and repeated procedure. Keeping me exactly where I am, I remain where I was placed. Long enough for the instruction to harden into expectation. Liam checks the clipboard again. Then the screen. Then leaves his hands still. Kyle shifts closer to the desk, close enough that his presence registers as part of the routine rather than a choice. Still here, the words are released toward the counter, not toward me. I acknowledge without moving. Another guest arrives and is immediately met with a question. Looking for something. The answer unlocks motion. A brochure appears. A path opens. I stay fixed. The Aventador remains visible, unchanged, positioned as both inventory and boundary. Liam turns back to me with the same posture as before. Appointment. The word lands without a lift. I shake my head. Please wait. The cadence matches the earlier one exactly. Time gathers through repetition rather than minutes. Liam taps the screen once. Stops. Taps again. Then removes his hands. Still loading. Kyle looks toward the entrance. Then back at me. Then shifts his feet. Stand over there. The direction points to a spot farther from the counter. Closer to the wall. I move, as indicated. The adjustment feels corrective. Another set of keys jingles behind the desk. Not brought forward. A woman without a name stops near the car and gestures toward the paint. 3 options. The response comes easily. The rope lifts for her, then settles back. The handle is wiped again after she steps away. Liam glances in my direction, then returns to the screen. Name. The question returns as if nothing preceded it. I give it again. The pen does not move. Still waiting. The phrase floats and falls without effect. Kyle shifts his stance, blocking a straight line between me and the car. Company policy. The words arrive with a small nod. I acknowledge once. A manager named Rebecca crosses the floor while speaking into a headset. Steps steadily. Eyes tracking displays instead of faces. She does not slow. The desk stays closed. Another guest finishes paperwork and is met with a congratulatory gesture. All set. The phrase lands somewhere else. A tray passes again and continues on. Liam finally lifts his eyes. What brings you in? The question arrives late. To see the Aventador. The answer does not alter anything. Appointment required. The loop tightens. A phone vibrates in my pocket. I leave it untouched. Liam reaches for the clipboard, then pauses mid-motion. Proof of funds. The frame shifts slightly. I look at him. Is that listed? The room stills by a fraction. Kyle straightens. Liam pauses, then nods once. It helps. I take the phone out. Unlock it. Scroll once, then lock it again without turning the screen outward. Please wait. The words return. Closer now. Another guest asks about financing. We can review options. The response flows without delay. I remain where directed. Rebecca's voice carries briefly from the far side of the floor, then stops. She turns, sees the desk, and continues walking. Liam watches her pass, then looks back at me. She's tied up. Kyle glances toward the door. Then at his watch, his posture shifts, weight settling evenly. We don't want congestion. The explanation arrives with a small hand motion. I step another half pace back. The rope remains loose. Liam returns to the screen and stays there longer this time. His eyes narrow slightly. Not pulling anything. The sentence implies expectation. There wouldn't be anything. The response lands cleanly. Liam looks up, then back down. Appointment still needed. Another guest nearby asks to sit inside a model. Go ahead. The door opens. The seat is offered. The door closes carefully afterward. The difference sharpens through sequence alone. The weight settles deeper. Sustained through posture rather than feeling. Rebecca's name is called from the back. She turns and walks toward the desk, slowing when she notices me standing aside. Her eyes move to Kyle, then to Liam, then to the clipboard. What's happening? The question shifts the room. Liam straightens. No appointment. Rebecca looks at me for the first time. Name. I give it again. Her movement stops. She reaches for the clipboard and scans it. The folded corner catches her attention. She turns the screen toward herself and pauses. This interface. The words trail off. Liam blinks. Kyle steps back half a pace. Rebecca leans closer to the screen. That's not current. The air tightens. No one fills the gap. Rebecca exhales once and lowers the clipboard. Give us a moment. The instruction applies outward. I remain still. Hands stop moving. The sequence hesitates. Rebecca holds the clipboard longer this time, not flipping pages, letting the pause expand until her hands stop moving around the desk. Liam waits with his palms flat on the counter, shoulders squared. Too late to matter. Kyle eases back another half step. Space reopening without instruction. His presence returning to the background. Rebecca checks the screen again. Then the folded corner, then types once. The response arrives immediately. No delay this time. She sets the clipboard square to the counter, aligning its edge with the surface as if resetting a reference point. One moment. She steps aside and makes a brief call. Voice turned inward. Words kept short. Then returns without looking at anyone. The desk stays still while the floor continues moving around it. Mr. Moore. The name lands and posture changes across the counter in small ways that are hard to reverse. Yes. Rebecca nods once and turns the screen fully toward herself. Scrolling once. Stopping. Profile misfiled. She taps again. Visibility restored. The update is complete. Liam watches the screen change without touching it. That's on us. Rebecca sets the clipboard aside. You asked to see the Aventador. Yes. A small gesture follows. Remove the rope. Liam hesitates. Then lifts it. The barrier leaving without comment. The space opens. Rebecca looks to Kyle. You're fine. Kyle nods and returns to his standard position. Farther back now. No longer part of the frame. Rebecca turns back to Liam. Walk me through. Liam swallows and keeps his eyes on the clipboard. No appointment. Rebecca waits. The pause extending until it has weight. Which procedure? Liam leans in. Freezes. Then exhales. Not current. Rebecca taps the screen once. 6 months old. A pause. Training sent twice. Liam nods. Quickly. Missed it. Rebecca holds eye contact. That's a problem. She turns to me. Apologies for the delay. Noted. She gestures toward the car. Go ahead. I step forward. The handle is not wiped this time. The door opens cleanly. And the interior lights come on. Several customers stop pretending not to watch. Their attention pausing mid-motion. Rebecca stays at the desk. For clarity, she says, carrying just enough to reach the floor. Capital partner. The room stills. Standard signatory. Liam's face empties of movement. Kyle looks up. A nearby salesperson pauses mid-step and remains there. Rebecca continues without raising her voice. including intake. She looks back at Liam. This is logged. She gestures to the screen. Review scheduled. A beat follows. Effective now. Rebecca turns as Maya passes. 3 walk-ins handled. Maya stops. Yes. Rebecca nods. Correct standard. She types once more. Bonus, this cycle. Maya steadies. Then nods. Thank you. Rebecca returns to Liam. Reassignment pending review. The words are procedural and complete. Keys. Liam places them down and does not pull them back. Rebecca slides them toward me. Available. I sit inside and press the ignition. The engine turns over. Low and controlled. Filling the room. No one speaks, while the sound holds. I shut it off after a few seconds. The silence that follows is set by action alone. I step out. Not purchasing today. Rebecca nods. Understood. She turns the screen outward and taps through the update. Slower than necessary. So the sequence can be followed. No appointment gate. Tap. No funds check without cause. Tap. Security on request. Tap. Acknowledge within 30 seconds. She looks to Kyle. Standard position. Kyle moves and settles where he was before. Rebecca locks the screen. We proceed. Liam gathers his things at her gesture and walks toward the back without looking up. The floor resumes motion with a different pattern than before. Rebecca turns to me once more. Thank you. I nod and head toward the exit. Behind me, a new guest reaches the desk and is met immediately. Welcome. If this held you, comment below. Share it. And subscribe to Black CEO Tales.